Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I've been scared to watch this film for a number of years now.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Kill List, which released in 2011 from writers Ben Wheatley and Amy Jump and directed by Ben Wheatley. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Neil Maskell's character, Jay. He's an ex-soldier turned hitman with his partner, Gal, played by Michael Smiley. The two of them have been given a kill list by their client and have set out to go out and take out these people one by one. But as they do, they realise that not only are they being followed, but their families and their closest loved ones may be in terrible danger.
Turn round.
Thank you.
So I've been a bit of a fan of Ben Wheatley since we reviewed Sightseers. That was a 2012 movie. And since then I've been and checked out A Field in England, which came out in 2013. And then, of course, I was like super excited to see Meg 2, The Trench. And I didn't even realise it was Ben Wheatley directing that. I was just like, it's a big shark and Jason Statham's going to punch it.
Yeah.
Super excited, but turned out not so great, actually.
Oh, okay.
Which I was a little bit hurt. I was like, Ben Wheatley's a good director. I've seen some outstanding work from his.
Yeah.
And then this film was recommended to me, and I was like, okay, well, I've not actually heard about this film at all. What is it? Is it a drama? Is it an action movie about some hitmen? Is it like a Guy Ritchie thing? And then I found out that it was a horror movie. And then when the film finished, I was shocked. And I was very surprised that not many people had ever even heard or discussed this movie.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite surprising, actually. I remember when it came out in 2011, and I was just like, oh, that looks interesting. It looks scary. I mean, you see the little kind of Blair Witchy kind of symbol on the front cover, and you're just thinking, what's this about? And, like, I recognised Neil Maskell from Football Factory, starring alongside Danny Dyer, so I thought, oh, I kind of like him. I'll give it a quick wiki, because, you know, I didn't have time to watch it. And then I finished reading it and was like, yeah, no, I'm kind of new to the whole parenting thing at the moment, so I'm just gonna keep that film on the back burner, and I'll come back to it when I feel a bit more comfortable to watch it. And then the years carried on, and Kill List kept coming up, and I kept looking at it, going, you know what, I'll get to you one day. I'm still a little bit scared, a little bit tender about, you know, some of your subject matter. I'll get to it, but like you said, we did Sightseers, and I thought that was brilliant. And I said to myself, right, Ian, you know, you got to suck it up. You got to watch this Kill List movie. And then I was just like, you know what, just not yet. You know, I watched Free Fire, which I thought was kind of original and unique, and much like this one, not many people have talked about it, or those that have seen it said it wasn't very good. And I thought, oh, I can't talk to you about it. And then when, like you said, I was wikiing it and saw that Ben Wheatley's name was attached to Meg 2, but luckily he only directed it. He didn't write it or, you know, or do much of the background production with it. They literally were just like, we need to get this film together. Who's a good director? Oh, well, we'll get you. And, you know, at least he created a good shark movie kind of production with Jason Statham. I wouldn't say he, like I said, wrote some of the ideas that he put in there.
I don't know, the effects were really good, but the story was bad and the direction was paint by numbers. It wasn't anything exciting or special.
Well, yeah,
but
he didn't write it.
I'm kind of glad that Ben Wheatley has at least reached, I mean, I don't want to say the heights, but it's really more the depths. You know?
Yeah. But this one was really quite unique, you know, to see it on the list. I was like, right, okay, it's time. You can't keep running away. You can't keep hiding. You've got to watch it. And
we should also just say, I mean, this is a very low budget British independent movie that was funded by the National Lottery Awards and Film 4 maybe.
Yeah.
And so that when I see that, I'm always like, that's at least a wise investment, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I put this film up there with like This Is England as well. Yeah. You know, I was like, oh, it's got to be good. I mean, you know, Film 4, they really don't just mess around. They take really good English directors and they give them the chance, and so then they go out there. And, you know, like you said, with Ben Wheatley, he kind of knows what he wants to see on camera and how he wants it to work. But it was interesting reading the notes for this one, where it was a case of like some of the sequences, he just got the actors to kind of just develop the characters in front of him. You know, he didn't have much history for certain characters. He just said to them, look, this is what I kind of want to film. You build it around, and then I'll try to shoot it, and then we'll do it in the editing process.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really natural and kind of unique for him to do that.
I did actually like in the end credits, it says written by, Ben Wheatley and Amy Jump and the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
And that was because a lot of it was improvised. I mean, Ben knew exactly which scenes had structure and it had a script. But he was like, but building up to where the script starts, you get to play around and express your characters how you wish. And if it fits and it works, fine. And it does.
Yeah.
And the film opens with, this was something that the other co-writer, Amy, said she didn't like. The film opening with the scratching of this occult symbol. I mean, we don't really know what it stands for or what it is, but it makes an impact with the sound of it being scraped in, like, it's like chalk on slate almost, but it feels more forceful than that. But then the argument follows right afterwards. We go straight into a domestic argument, and we're dropped with information right away that Jay has been out of work for 8 months, that he had 40 grand sat aside for this time, which is now apparently all gone. And that they're taking money out of holiday funds and saving funds.
Well, there's no holiday funds.
There's none left, and they've still got the jacuzzi that needs fixing and repairing. And it's just like, geez, it comes across intense from the minute go.
It is all gone!
Well, how can it possibly be fucking gone? There was 40 grand in there.
Yeah, 8 months ago, there was 40 grand in there.
8 months? How many fucking scatter cushions do you need?
I mean, MyAnna Buring playing Shell, his wife, I thought she was absolutely fabulous. I mean, not taking anything away from Neil Maskell, but as the kind of father-husband character, he's supposed to be, supporting the family. He's supposed to be going out and making the money and whatnot. And she's an ex...
they're both ex-military.
Yeah, but she was in the Polish army, I think it was. The Swedish army.
Yeah.
And so immediately I got the sense that she could kind of take care of herself. And then when you watch her kind of launch herself at him and kind of repeatedly give him a couple of smacks and things like that, I'm like, ooh, okay, this is a very tense atmosphere kind of relationship. There's a lot of heavy arguments, obviously drinking involved, PTSD. There's some real history going on that you don't really find out about.
You just pick up little bits of dialogue, and I've actually heard this as a complaint.
Really?
That, especially from American audiences, is that the English dialect is pretty thick and very strong in this film. And I also admit I had to turn the volume up a little bit. I was like, can't quite make out what they're saying. And, I'm English as well.
man. Well, that's it. I mean... Once you've watched Football Factory like 3 or 4 times, you pick up that really Cockney slang kind of accent coming off of Neil Maskell, where he's like, fucking yes, and all that kind of stuff. But then when you get introduced to Gal, Michael Smiley, and he brings his Irish accent, right? You're just like, oh, yeah, I can see how this kind of wouldn't work well for international audiences.
Yeah. Oh, my God, how good are the two of them together? They've got, like, immediate chemistry.
Yes.
You can tell that their friendship goes back, way, way back.
Yeah.
And their camaraderie with each other. And when Gal's turned up with his new girlfriend for this, this dinner party that they're having. And again, it's fine. There's little bits of banter, little bits of dialogue, and we find out that his new girlfriend Fiona works for Human Resources.
Yeah, which I thought was really quite funny, especially with what I already know about the film.
We've already hinted, if you've never seen this film, this is a horror movie.
Yes.
And so the film does lots of, I guess, foreshadowing of things that are to come, and maybe not everyone is who they appear to be.
Yeah.
Because an argument breaks out almost immediately. I think it's like the 15-minute mark. Another argument between Shell and Jay, where he rips off the
Well, she's talking about the war, isn't she? The war in Afghanistan.
That's right.
And obviously that really kind of upsets him because of his friends and stuff. And he flips his table, his plate up. She's had a go at him about how many racks of meat that he took.
That's right.
And he's like, oh, I thought they were all for everybody. And it was the shopping list argument.
Yeah, because he went and spent hundreds of pounds on wine and other stuff. And she's like, you didn't even get toilet roll.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show either he's not paying attention or, I mean, they don't come across as like they're in a relationship that's about to end in divorce.
No.
But it's bordering on that because
Yeah.
you do see moments where they are pretty good together.
Yeah, yeah.
And after the arguments died down and Gal's taken their son, Sam upstairs with him to bed and gone, look, don't drink, don't smoke. It's something that parents do. Sometimes they drink and they got to get it out of their system.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, he's come across as a good person, a good guy, and helps put him to bed. And then, the rest of them, they manage to enjoy the rest of their evening. But still, the little seeds have been planted because there was a sequence where Fiona, while the argument was going on, there was a great shot as well. I love how, I'll get to the neck bit in a minute, but I love how the camera, I mean, it's all handheld camera and it's kind of moving around quite a lot. It's got some freedom to it.
Yeah, yeah.
But the moment the argument happens, the camera kind of got a little bit more rigid, a little bit more awkward. And it's the shot where Fiona's just kind of sat there at the table on her own. And I was like, that's perfect because, we've probably all been in similar situations. Either you're in the argument or you're the person that's kind of next to the argument.
Yeah.
And that awkwardness where she's just kind of like, wow, this is... just met these people. But she ends up wandering up into the bathroom. She takes the mirror off the wall. You're like, what are you doing? She starts scratching a symbol into the back. And you're like, well, that was the symbol we saw at the beginning.
Yeah.
So maybe now I understand why the co-writer, Amy Jump, didn't want the symbol to open the film because then we'd still be questioning what the hell she was doing with that mirror. But now we know it's the same one we saw at the beginning. She's in on it. There's something going on here that we don't know about. She puts the mirror back up and evening carries on as normal.
I mean, if you've had enough experiences with satanic, dark, cult kind of video games or books or films, there's always some weird psycho who comes along and writes a mark on something and goes, yep, chosen. And I'm just like, oh, yeah. Ooh.
Oh, she works in human resources as well.
Exactly. I got to give credit to the little boy who played Sam, with what the film is trying to tell us, and how they are filming these sequences. He came across so natural, when he was there with the mum or he was there with Jay. There was that wonderful moment where the two of them were sat out by the river, just out on the little bench. And as I said, I knew where these things went. So that's why I felt uncomfortable with watching it as being a father myself. Just how, I kind of wanted Jay to be a bad dad so that when things happen, I'm like, it's justified. This had to happen to you. But then again, like, he's not. He is just trying to make money some way to obviously provide for his family and stuff. And so now Fiona's come along and made this mark. I'm like, oh, you're going to fucking destroy this whole thing for yourself. Especially the next morning when Jay goes to Gal. The two of them, they've had their meeting in the party and they're talking about this next job. They don't go into too many details about how many jobs they've done. But they've certainly done enough kind of
contract killings,
enough hitman jobs that they've got a bit of a reputation and the business has been coming in. But something happened in Kiev 8 months ago that has put Jay off. You don't know what it is, but certainly, like Gary said, with the relationship between Neil Maskell and Michael Smiley, of how they talk about it, whatever it was pretty bad. But then the next morning when he goes to see Gal, and he's like, oh, where's Fiona? And he's like, oh, yeah, she left me a Dear John letter tied to my cock.
I think I was a bit of a bad boy last night. Woke up this morning with a Dear John taped to my cock.
You joking?
No.
But the two of them, Gao and Jay, they've decided to go see the client. Cheryl's obviously convinced Jay, like you need to do this. You need to, start getting some money back in. And they go to this shady ass client, played by Struan Roger, who I don't know if I've seen him a lot in things. Maybe I've just never noticed him, but he's got a look and a presence that they just call him the client, and you don't really know much, but he just goes, here's the money, here's the list, and then immediately just grabs Jay's hand and slices his hand and puts the blood on it. And I'm like, oh, well, you're in it now.
Yeah, he made a deal with the devil and signed it in blood. Yeah, it's a deep cut as well. It made me wince, you know. And you see him washing it out in the sink. I'm just like, oh, it's horrible.
Yeah,
it's horrible. But then we're like, okay, so again, first time watching the film, you're like, I don't really know what it's about. I thought it felt like a drama, like about the coming at the end of this relationship. But now it's turned into a hitman movie, and this sort of buddy kind of hitman movie.
Yeah.
But again, it's understated. It's kind of it's not grand like imagine a hitman movie to be. It feels very grounded and realistic and mundane almost as they go around their routines of signing into the hotel, dropping their bags down and then casing who their target is and before they move in to assassinate or to kill them. It's just very normal, and for the two characters as well, there's nothing special about it.
But there's still, I mean, I just kept getting this kind of ominous feeling, while we are following them, while we are watching them, that something was just... I mean, I already know that because of obviously bloody Fiona scratching the symbol in. But it's just, like you said, it feels mundane, but it also feels like this is all being orchestrated. Like they're being told to kill these people, but it's all being pre-planned. And so when you have the priest, which is the first target, they go there, they realize he's a priest. And Jay mentions something to Gao. Does it make him feel better? And Gao's, you can tell that Gao's kind of...
He's a religious person as well, so he doesn't really want to do it.
No, but at the same time, it also feels like maybe he's got a bit of history to priests that he's happy to take this guy out if he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And it was so brilliantly well filmed where the priest is doing a sermon and there's no sound, is there?
That's right.
All the audio's been taken away, so you can see his lips moving and people reading from the Bible, but you can't hear anything, and it's cutting back to Jay and Gao, who kick in a door and they make their way into the guy's office and they start setting up the plastic, and you see the priest kind of tidying everything away, and it's just all really just building up to the point where the priest walks into the room, sees all the plastic covering his table, and he's like, huh? And he turns, and Jay's got the gun pointed at him, and Jay tells him to turn back around, and the priest goes, thank you.
Turn round.
Thank you.
And then he gets shot in the back of the head, and Gao's like, well, why do you think he said thank you?
Like, because he didn't want to get shot in the face?
No.
That was my first thought, but I was like, well, that can't be it. You're still getting shot. Why do you care?
Yeah, that's it. There was something just, like Jay,
right.
Yeah, Jay's kind of tried to explain it like, oh, well, maybe he was at one with God with the moment. But I'm like, no, it really more felt like he was happy to be one of the ones to be chosen.
Yeah.
And that's it. They've just shot this guy, and they're wrapping him up in plastic.
They chuck his body out the window in the bag.
into the furnace as well, and they're getting rid of the evidence. And then they start heading to their second target, which is the librarian. Now, this one was... I feel like if the movie hadn't already started to go down that dark spiral, this was where it was just like, you're already down there. We just hadn't told you how far you were down.
Right.
And they see the guy coming out of a lockup, and which is like a big huge container type place for those of you who don't know what lockups are. And Jay's like, I want to see what's inside there, and Gao's just like, look, do we really need to? And Jay's just like, it's like Jay's making the decision and Gao's just trying to keep up with him.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be killing these guys, it's another thing to be going off and finding out what's in the lockup, what's in the shed, all that kind
You're
of
not
stuff.
looking for the motive or any attachment or reason for the reason why you've been paid to kill these people. You're professionals, right? So you just do the job. You don't need to know the ins, outs and whys. You've been paid not to ask those questions.
Yeah.
But Jay has kind of gone off the record, really, and investigating in his own to find out why perhaps he's killing these people, because he has a misaligned morality system, I guess, where, something we don't know has happened to him, but we know he was in the war, and we know he's had to do some bad things, and whatever happened in Kiev was bad. But he mentions earlier, he was like, man, I wish I was like in World War II, where it was just simple, the Allies versus the Nazis. It was straightforward. So when the soldiers came home, they were hailed as heroes. Whereas the soldiers that came back from Iraq, well, the population just kind of went, yeah, that was wrong.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah.
And so he's in that position. And so maybe he's like trying to now do the right thing. And he doesn't want to be the bad guy because he has done bad things. And so now he's trying to punish because he's angry with himself. He's angry with the world. And now he wants to punish bad people.
Yeah.
And when he wanders into this locker and sees shelving filled with pornography, videotapes, CDs, magazines, and then when he sits in front of a TV, we don't see it.
Yeah.
We don't need to see it. The screams are enough to know that this is some kind of sick snuff kind of empire.
Yeah.
And so that's all the fuel that Jay needs to exert revenge on, well, first the priest and then, well, now the librarian and then whoever is responsible for making these tapes. And they do get that librarian sat down in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's a torture scene. It's, I don't know.
I mean, I'd love the build up for that because of the way that Neil Maskell had kind of explained just before they gone into lockup that he would do them all, you know, for free if it turned out that they were like pedophiles or rapists or things like that, you know, like you said, because there's a morale code. He's just like, I don't want to kill good people. I want to kill really bad, nasty people. And then you see him sat in front of watching that video, and it's just quick edits, but it's enough quick edits to watch him break down in tears and horrible. This guy has killed for money and done whatever he needs to, but now he's breaking down in tears in front of this camera. And all of a sudden they're in the librarian's house, they're beating the crap out of him, and they're wanting the information of who makes these films, these tapes. And the guy tries to deny it at first, but they keep on beating on him and torturing him. And Gal's like questioning, what are we doing? Why don't we just finish him off? And as he gets the information, as Gal gets the information of where this guy's money is kept, he goes out the room and Jay goes and gets a hammer. And I was relatively quite shocked of how well this sequence was done. Filmed first, but then the gore on top of it.
It's brief. You don't see enough of it, really. You just see when he's hammering his hand, you just see the fingers going, and then you see the cut along the hand. It's there for less than a second, but the impact noises and the screams. Oh. I mean, it's when he repeatedly is bashing his kneecap and destroying it. And it's also the fact that the librarian is saying, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that it's you, that I got to meet you. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that shot where he like, I couldn't tell if it was a mannequin at first or when the cut was, but he grabbed him and he put him on the table and then he just pam, bam, bam, smashed his head. I thought it was going to cut away.
But it stays.
And it stayed, and I was just like, oh, geez, oh, whoa, okay, whoa. So much so that Gal comes down with the money and goes, look at this fucking mess. You can fucking clean all this up. And Jay's like, I will. And they get rid of the body, but they've got the address, and so they go to where these films are being recorded or made and stuff. And you know, Gal's repeatedly saying to him, you've gone off the rails, you've gone off the list now, you know, what are you doing? And Jay's just like, I'm doing this. I've got to do this. He's angry, there's some real darkness in there. And he says to him, he's just like, if you don't see, you know, if I haven't come back in 20 minutes, come in and get me.
Right.
And he kind of disappears off, and then you get the quick edit of Gal kind of sitting there, a little montage of him waiting, and then he gets up and goes into the back of his car and gets the shotgun. And it was, like you said, with the foreshadowing was, before they killed the priest, it was like, well, what do we do if he's got a dog? And then in this sequence, when Gal is going in to find out where Jay's gone, as soon as he opens the door, he sees a dead dog.
Yeah.
You know, and he sees a dead guy. And he's looking around and he's just like, what's going on? And he makes his way kind of down some stairs to the seedy basement because you can hear this banging. And Jay's just got this guy's head
just smashing up against the wall. I mean, his face is mushed. And he throws him over and he's kind of half dead.
Yeah.
I mean, well, mostly dead.
Mostly,
and he shoots him 3 times just to finish him off. God damn.
Was that 20 minutes? Let's get the fuck out of here. The fuck we're gonna do with him now? Brilliant.
But I mean, if they were the ones responsible for the horrific stuff that they saw in the warehouse, then it's kind of justified, you know?
Yeah. And then it kind of, we've been hearing as well, since Fiona had left Gal, she's actually been going and seeing Shell, Jay's wife, a bit more and hanging out. And immediately I was
we'd
like,
also had that shot of Jay in the hotel one night,
Yeah.
seeing Fiona across the field, almost like an apparition, like
Yeah,
a ghost,
yeah.
waving. And then, when he goes home to find her there in his house, it's just like, what?
yeah, I would have been
Was
like,
she really there? Was she just in his mind?
Mate, I don't know, because while this has been going on, his hand has not been healing.
It's in fact got infected.
It's got infected. It's kind of getting worse, and it's this kind of whole ominous evil feeling. Like now, even Jay and Gal have started to realize that they shouldn't be involved in this, because their pet cat, Jay's pet cat, has been killed. But the fucking rabbit situation, I thought that they found some guts in the ground, in the grass, like towards the start of the movie, and they're like, oh, the cat likes to kill rabbits, and so Jay cooks it up and eats the meat, and I was just like, how do you know that wasn't set there by Fiona?
Right.
That's what's now separated you from everybody else, that you ate whatever the hell that was. And then they find their cat hanging in front of their doorway, and Jay's absolutely peeved off. It's like he has that emotional outburst to Gal, like, you think I was fucking pissed off? Now you wait until they find out what they did to my cat. I'm like, oh shit. So then they attempt to go back to the client to kind of retract from the contract and get replacements, and the client says to him, like, nope, no. And Gal's had this folder, he's picked up this folder from the librarian's house, which has got pictures of him and Jay, surveilling the priest, information on them from years back. And even Gal says to him, like, how long have we been working for you? And, my mind was just blown away by that point, because it's just like, so this is going back even further than, what do we say? It was 8 months prior since the end of Kiev.
That's right.
So was the client the guy who set them on the path for Kiev? Did he know about them even further before than that?
No idea how much of this has been orchestrated or
Yeah.
by chance.
Yeah.
But it seems like it has been orchestrated, because that folder was pretty thick.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course they are not allowed out of their deal. So, they're consigned themselves that they're going to have to go and take out their third target.
Yeah.
And they case out this huge, giant mansion, and they hide themselves in the woodland area just overlooking it.
Yeah.
And then it starts raining, but then they see firelights and torches coming down from the side.
Yeah.
And there's this whole congregation of people.
Not like the bloody elves from Lord of the Rings going to the Grey Havens or anything like that. These are naked men and women wearing kind of weird straw,
Like wicker
masks.
Yeah.
Carrying torches. Just cult.
So you're just like, cult right away. It's a cult.
Cult, yeah. and they watch them walk this young girl up to like a tree.
With a noose hanging there.
And she willingly, she's not screaming, she's not fighting, she happily just kind of climbs up, puts the rope around her neck, and then steps off and hangs herself.
And everyone just stands and applauds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jay gets so freaked out, he pulls out his machine gun, and I couldn't tell if he'd actually shot the target. Like, because the first guy that they shoot, he just kind of turns around and he's happy to get shot.
That's
so I was
right.
like, oh, was that the guy? And so he gets taken out, and the whole of the cult just goes absolute ape shit and starts screaming, freaking out.
They don't behave like humans in a way.
No.
They're like animals.
Yeah.
And they make like squealing noises as they get shot or as they're running towards them. And then this ends up in this whole weird, like, tunnel chase sequence where the cult...
Yeah, well, they'd made their way through the tunnels to get to
That's right.
the MP's land. So then I figured that would be their escape route as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was well freaky with them coming running down the tunnels.
Yeah. And I wasn't expecting this, like, action sequence where the shotguns go and they're shooting and killing cultists left and right, but there's so many of them.
Yeah.
That they... Jay ends up going further ahead, but Gal ends up getting pulled down by one of the cultists and gets stabbed quite a few times.
Yeah.
Manages to kill the cultist, but then when Jay returns to help his friend, well, his insides are on his outside, and he struggles at first to mercy kill his friend, but he does.
Yeah.
And then he steps outside and Well, and then the cult was still waiting for him.
Well, he heads back to the cottage, doesn't he? Like, just prior to them going to this, huge mansion, he'd convinced Shell and their son to go to their private cottage until the deal was over, try and stay safe. And I just love the fact about that, the actress playing Shell. Like, I wasn't really worried about her. She's not like your atypical damsel in distress, She's a mum who's been in the forces. She knows what to do. She's going to protect her son. She loves her husband. She knows her husband's in some dark shit, and now he's told her that they're in some deep trouble. So when she gets sent off to the cottage, I'm like, okay, they relatively should be safe with her in charge there. But like Gary said, after Gal's been killed and Jay's like not knowing what to do, he heads to the cottage to find them. And the cult have made their way there as well. And so he arms himself up. He gives his wife a gun. She puts a silencer on the end. She's all ready. I kind of wish he hadn't gone outside. Like, I would have preferred like
if the two of them had hunkered down,
like a whole dog soldiers situation where he'd have
like
just been blasted. I'd maybe have enjoyed that and then seen him get taken out, maybe. But instead, he heads out into the woods and says, there's only got to be a couple of them. And then we just see him get knocked out.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to Shell. She kills like...
two of them, I think,
two or three guys, with a couple of shots. And then it cuts from her. And we're back to Jay. The cult are dragging him out into the middle of these woods. You got these kind of burning torches surrounding this ring. They pull off his top. They put a mask on him. They give him this knife. And then you see this hunchbacked, cloaked figure be pushed forward as well with a knife. And Jay's expected to fight it to the death.
Right. I'm like, is this some kind of ritual? What kind of cultish performance is this? I don't know. But yeah, they fight. I mean, the hunchback is kind of swinging blindly almost. Making the same squealing noises as the other cult members were making.
Yeah.
It's very weird. And you're kind of like, what is going on? How did this like domestic drama turned hitman film turn into this?
It's Ben Wheatley, mate. He just goes off the rails.
Right. Jay ends up getting the upper hand, gets the hunchback down and stabs it repeatedly. All the other cult members are applauding. They're like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
Until the sheet comes off and the mask falls off and we reveal Shell and Sam were the ones that Jay has just brutally stabbed and killed. His own wife and child.
Yeah. Like I said, when I wikied that years ago, like, I was just like, I can't watch a sequence where a dad kills his wife and son, not realizing that it's them.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that when he gets down, he stabs it in the back, because it's on its front, and so he's killed his own son. Was his son alive? Was he drugged? I don't know. But when the cult are applauding and they place the little wicker hat on top of Jay's head, and he looks down at Shell and she's laughing, just before she passes away. Like, he's in shock, or trance. He's overcome with emotion. I don't know. The film doesn't really go into too much detail. It's an hour and a half, and it's like, whew.
And it ends right there as well.
Right to the end,
with the title.
With the title.
Film title, right at the end credits.
The mask is revealed as well as the cultists, aren't they? The client is there.
Fiona's there as well.
There's another guy there as well. And you're just like, this was all orchestrated. This was all planned. What was this for? What does Jay get now? Or are they just going to take him off and he's going to be sacrificed too? I got massive shout outs to like I said, Midsummer, the way they put the flower thing on top of her head.
Yeah.
I was just like,
yeah, it's disturbing and it's haunting, and of course the silence during the film title, as we just hear them, and then the music comes back in for the credits. You're just like, damn, like, what was that? What did I just go through? And it does leave you very unsettled, by the end. And I was pretty convinced that, his wife was not part of the cult whatsoever. As a matter of fact, Ben Wheatley had to address that, because some people assume with her laughing that she was kind of laughing at him because she helped orchestrate it. So I'm like, I don't think so. She's dead or dying. It was she was kind of laughing ironically at him for the actions that he's taken. But I don't think the two of them obviously knew that they were fighting each other until after.
No, that's it. It's like how, look, because we didn't see what happened to her after the house. How did they get her to carry Sam on her back? You know, did they tell her, like, if you don't do this, we're going to kill both of you anyway?
But I just love the fact that the cult's motivations, their plan, what they were doing, what they're going to do next, it's not really explained. It doesn't really go into any details. And I think that mystery is also just even more horrifying as a result of that.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Now, apparently in the original script, or they had ideas that they filmed or maybe took out or didn't work out, maybe because it explained too much. But apparently the cult was kind of at war with itself.
Right.
And that the contracts that they were completing were killing off other cult members that maybe human resources felt were underperforming. I don't know. But then again, like, Jay was also underperforming with the fact that he was complaining of a bad back and not working for 8 months. And so maybe he's part of the trash and needs to get taken out as well. I don't really know their mentality, what they're thinking.
Yeah.
The film doesn't go into that, and I think it's better for it.
For me, it's like the people on the list, they were part of the cult. And for me, it feels like people were randomly chosen, you know, and these killings had to happen so that the cult could get to the next level of whatever dark power they were going, what god, you know, we don't know. The symbol is brand new, you know. I read that Ben Wheatley made the symbol up, and then people were like, and he thought people were going to get, you know, Blair Witch kind of thought processes. Oh, you kind of stole it from Blair Witch, but instead people were like, you stole that from Harry Potter. And he's like, really? You know, there's a symbol like it in one of the Harry Potter movies. And people are like, oh, Ben Wheatley kind of copied that. And he's like, no, not really, no.
Well, Iain, what were your favourite scenes from Kill List?
Oh, my God. I've only got a couple. I really enjoyed the entire movie. But it's like, I love the sequence where Gal and Jay were sat in a car and I think they're waiting to go in and speak to the client. And as they get out the car, there's just a rainbow over the top of the car. You know, it's just a brilliantly perfect shot. You know, and I'd read in the notes that Ben Wheatley had filmed sequences first and then kind of built the story kind of around them. I think it was like he got it from a certain type of director. You know, so when he'd seen this rainbow, he was like, oh, stop, get everything set up, put the car in there. Right, now film and go. And right, we got it. Now we got to work out what we're doing around the scene. I thought it was brilliant, but it just looks brilliant. Of the two of them walking there, and kind of the beauty of light above them, the last bit of light that we'll ever see in them. I don't know. There's a sequence where Gow and Jay are in the hotel and they're trying to eat food, and there's like a Christian group behind them. And Jay's so annoyed at them. They're doing his head in because they're just talking so loudly. And then one of them gets a guitar out and he's like, you better not goddamn play that guitar, Gal. Is he playing it, Gal? And Gal's like, yeah, he's playing it. But it's the conversation Jay has with the religious guy, you know, and the religious guy says to him, like, God loves you, Jay. And Jay just kind of has these, these nasty kind of remarks about what God is like and where he is. And I kind of get it from Jay's perspective because of the life that he's leading, but at the same time, you know, was this a message from God to say, like, leave it all alone?
Well, it's also a fact that it almost feels like he's psyching himself up because he's about to go and kill a priest. So maybe getting angry at some Christians just helps psych him up to go and be able to do the job he's got to do, because it potentially is obviously you're killing a priest. Yeah. But he's trying to find a reason to do it, and so just getting angry about the religion in the first place. Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, it's another very tense sequence because you feel like Jay could explode in violence at any second here. Yeah. And the fact that he doesn't, that he just drops the guitar on the ground and walks away, it's like, well, that could have escalated.
It's the way Gal's just like, get them all drinks, double orange juices all round on me. That was brilliant. I loved kind of, as I said, I already knew where the ending went. But when the film started and they'd had some difficulties, Shao and Jay, but he'd gone out and bought the swords and he wanted to play with Sam out in the back garden. And then it was him, Shao, and Sam was on Shell's back as they're fighting the dad. And I sat there and I almost just turned the goddamn film off there. Like, no film, you're not doing this to me. It's been like 12 years I've been kind of waiting to watch this film, and now I've got this right shoved right in my face.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing, like you wouldn't believe, leading up to that final fight sequence, you know, how they filmed it all in the dark with all those extras stood around them, with the way that the camera is, the way it just happens, and you've got to go with it, and then you see the imagery and you're just like, Gary, just go. I'll get emotional.
Yeah, easily. Most of my favourite scenes revolve around Neil Maskell and Michael Smiley. Jay and Gal, they had such an on-screen chemistry and friendship that felt authentic and real. So any of the sequences with them, even when they end up fighting and smashing cutlery over each other's heads, you know, it's like Clerks, you know, where you just know they're both going to be sat there in the mess that they've made, just talking to each other like normal again.
And they were, and he's just like, Shell's going to notice you broke that, and he's like, oh, she loves me, I'm a saint.
Yeah. I also really liked the first dinner table party sequence. Again, it's just established all of these characters really well. We get a hint of Fiona being up to no good, and just the drama and the performances, it's very raw and vivid and real. And so I just thought the actors just excelling here.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most haunting and memorable scenes in the film is the librarian getting tortured in the kitchen, being bludgeoned with that hammer. It's the repeated shots to the knee. We don't see the blood and the broken bones or anything. It's just the actors selling it.
Yeah.
And then of course the hand shots and then the head shot. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Really, really brutal. But yeah, the whole film's got some outstanding moments for sure. Ian, do you recommend Kill List?
I totally recommend Kill List. I think secretly I always have, because this film's always kind of scared me to watch it, which is what you want from a good horror movie. You know, you don't look at horror movies and go, oh yeah, I want to watch that. That looks fun. You look at a horror movie and you go, I don't think I want to watch it, but I will. And then by the end of it, you're unsettled, you're uncomfortable, it's dark, it leaves an impression on you. I don't think I could ever really go back and watch it again. You know, I've watched it now. I'm good. I don't need to. But like I said, if you like The Wicker Man, either version, I mean, Nicolas Cage is on a high at the moment, so it can't be that bad. Or The Witch, you know, with Anna Taylor-Joy, you know, or Midsummer. If you like those films, you will love Kill List. Go back and watch it. It's not very long. It flows really fast. It's got some horrible imagery, and it leaves you unsettled to the point where if you say that you've watched it and you never plan on watching it ever again, then it's done its job.
Hell yeah. I'm also going to be recommending Kill List. This is without a doubt worth a watch, especially for horror fans. This is a fairly disturbing descent into madness and rage, with quality performances, a tight script, and solid good direction. It's a very oppressive film. It's filled with tension that erupts sometimes very unexpectedly in a very real and raw way due to how grounded and authentic everything feels. The cinematography and editing lends itself at times to a documentary, you know, adding to the realness with handheld camera work and lingering uncomfortable shots. The intensity and realism carries over so well that in the third act, when the cult-like figures animalistically cause havoc and the gore starts flowing, it's even more shocking, and the film never offers up an explanation or reason. That's real horror. It's honestly unrelenting how uncomfortable and intense the film is. So yeah, it's getting a high recommendation. Great, low-budget, independent British horror that holds up after multiple viewings with a haunting soundtrack and great performances. Will unhinge even the most hardened genre fans. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.